Welcome everyone to today's session on how your National School Safety Center serves K-12 schools and school districts. We are so happy that you're joining us here today. This session is brought to you by the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Safe and Supportive Schools and its Readiness and Emergency Management for Schools Technical Assistance Center, also known as the REMS TA Center. My name is Allison Curtis. I serve as the Director of Information and Product Management at the REMS TA Center, and I've been with the center for 9 years. I'm joined today by Shantae Stokes, a Senior Training and Technical Assistance Research Associate, and she's been with the TA Center for 2 years. Next slide. Next slide. So the REMS TA Center was administered by and works in partnership with the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Safe and Supportive Schools. And our mission is, next slide, to help education agencies with their community partners manage safety, security, emergency preparedness, and emergency management programs. And this is done in a few ways. First, we help build the preparedness capacity, which includes prevention, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery efforts of schools, school districts, and institutions of higher education, and their community partners at the local, state, and federal levels. And second, we serve as the primary source of information dissemination for schools, school districts, institutions of higher education, all for emergencies via our website. The Department of Education established the REMS TA Center in 2004, which means we've been your National School Safety Center for 19 years. And we're proud to support all K-12 schools, including public, private, charter, rural, urban, suburban, tribal, BIE schools, online schools, etc. And all of them have access to our free resources, tools, and training. Next slide. So our website in itself is a really wonderful resource. You can find everything that we discuss here today on our site, which is rems.ed.gov. In the sliding carousel on our homepage, you'll find new resources as well as direct links to our calendar, guidance documents, which all of our work is based on, and other quick links. Next slide. Our calendar on our site is a collection of virtual and in-person events offered by the REMS TA Center, and as well as other partner agencies. And it features trainings and opportunities to learn, web chats where you can engage in online discussions, conferences, which are composed of various sessions like this one, and other stakeholder activities and events like National Awareness Weeks, months, and days. Next slide. Another really great way to stay informed on REMS TA Center resources, events, and trends is our listserv. We disseminate a monthly email newsletter as well as additional individual announcements on upcoming webinars, recently hosted Twitter chats, new resources, timely topics, and other relevant information and events. You can sign up for our free mailing list on our website, as well as find previous disseminations there as well. Next slide. We also invite you to engage with us on Twitter. Our handle is @REMS TA Center, and we post daily to promote resources and engage in various discussions on school safety topics. We also host Twitter chats on a regular basis with school safety leaders on predetermined topics and themes. And recent chats have focused on preparing for opioid-related emergencies in the school setting, implementing the National Incident Management System, and tornado preparedness for schools. Our social media is really a space for you all to interact with us, So please remember that we want to hear from you, and we welcome you to tag us, use some of our hashtags, or pose us questions on this modality. Next slide. So before we take a look at the agenda for today's session, we want to get a sense from you about your familiarity with the REMS TA Center. So using the raise hand feature, let us know how familiar you are. Raise your hand if you visited the REMS TA Center website before. Have you downloaded any of our tools, trainings, or resources? Have you sent us an email or requested technical assistance? Or perhaps you've met us in person at a conference, training, or other event. Well, regardless, if you're here to learn more about the REMS TA Center, you're in the right place. We look forward to providing you with this information today and continuing the conversation later on in the future. Next slide. So today we're going to take a look at and discuss all of the different free services that the REMS TA Center offers, including strategies for using them and examples of how we've helped education agencies in the past. We've grouped our services into 3 categories: training, tools, and resources, both within this presentation today and on our website. So now I'm going to hand things over to Shantae to talk about our training opportunities. Shantae?
Thank you, Allison. We offer both in-person and online training opportunities and materials. Our trainings by request are on an Insight in-person training program, and our virtual trainings by request are virtual online training program that we run. We also create specialized training packages, which are materials that may be downloaded and used to deliver in-person trainings by individuals online. Our webinars and online courses are available for viewing and accessible via internet on your computer. Next slide, please. You can give it one more click, please. We also offer both our in-person trainings are called training by request, and those are free to schools and school districts across the country. For these events, we provide 1 to 2 subject matter experts plus 1 REMS TA Center staff to travel to your site and deliver the presentation. At the REMS TA Center, we'll manage the registration process, provide all of the materials that can be downloaded for your audience, and we'll send out electronic certificates of attendance. The whole site is responsible for providing the facility, the technology equipment, and bringing the minimum number of participants. In order to ensure the training events are effective and impactful, and to refine training outcomes, the TA Center offers different formats. So we have 4-hour, 8-hour, and 2 hours that can be combined. And many of the trainings only require 25 to 50 participants, and class sizes can be as large as 100 people. Since 2012, we have delivered over 271 trainings and trained over 10,000 participants. Next slide, please. So our virtual training by request programs, we offer those, again, free to schools and school districts across the country, and that's held via Zoom. And for these events, we also provide 1 to 2 subject matter experts plus 1 REMS TA Center staff person, just to help during the production of the presentation. We manage the registration process and provide all of the materials. And again, we'll send certificates of attendance electronically, and the whole site is only responsible for providing the minimum number of participants. And these range from 2.5 to 4-hour sessions, and you can have a minimum of 25 participants, or it can be as large as 475 people. We have an entire team that is dedicated to ensuring that all of our trainings by request and virtual trainings are successful, and we have a fantastic cadre of expert trainers from across the country. Next slide, please. Our portfolio of training by request, the topics change. Currently, the topics you see on the screen are offered to K through 12 audience in the train the educator format. So we have developing emergency operations plans, K through 12 101, which is a 4-hour overview of recommended planning processes and key considerations for creating, revising, or enhancing school EOPs. It is intended for 50 to 100 participants. We also offer addressing and preventing adult sexual misconduct, which is one of our newer trainings, and it's a day-long learning opportunities on creating comprehensive policies and procedures for preventing and addressing adult sexual misconduct. Unfortunately, this is a rampant problem, which is why we created a training to address it, and it's intended for 25 to 100 participants. We also offer behavior threat assessment, and that's our most popular training, and that's a day-long learning opportunity on how schools, districts, and schools can help prevent and reduce targeted violence in schools through behavior threat assessments. It is intended for 25 to 100 participants. And our earthquake preparedness for schools is a day-long training on how school district and schools can better prepare for an earthquake, and that's intended for 25 to 100 participants. Next slide, please. So we also offer the trainer format, which is a bit different because this trainer is intended for potential master trainers, and they will be responsible for training site-based teams and staff. So some of the training topics that we offer with this is similar to our other trainings. So our developing emergency operations plans, K through 12 101, which is a day-long version that trains a cadre of master trainers who can deliver the train the educator version in your locality, region, or state. And in this training, we don't actually work on EOPs in the room, but you'll be equipped with the knowledge to create or revise your EOP according to best practices. And this training is intended for 25 to 50 participants. We also have conducting K through 12 site assessments with Site Assess, and that's a 2-hour overview of site assessments and how to use the REMS TA Center site assessment mobile application, which we will discuss a little later. And this extension training must be delivered as an add-on to another training event, such as a K through 12 101 Train the Educator. Our virtual trainings by request programs offers the same topics with the exception of the planning for family reunification before, during, and after an emergency. Next slide, please. Our planning for family reunification before, during, and after an emergency training topic is about family reunification and how it is used to reunite children with verified and authorized family members after a critical and often highly stressful incident, such as fire, natural disaster, school bus accident, a situation involving weapons, or violence at a school that prevents the normal school dismissal. The Family Reunification Annex is recognized in the Guide for Developing High-Quality School Emergency Operations Plans and the role of districts in developing high-quality school emergency operations plans as a critical element of the overall EOP. Participants will be equipped to review and update their Family Reunification Annex on a regular basis to ensure the most successful outcome while applying training principles for and including a step-by-step plan to reunify children with their families before, during, and after an emergency across the 5 mission areas. Next slide, please.
Excuse me, we had a question in chat about some examples of trainings offered. I'm assuming that you touched base on those that you'll offer.
Yes, just a few. What?
Sounds Oh, there was just a question in chat that said, can you give some examples of the trainings offered?
Okay,
Dante, I think you just covered and answered that question by going over some of those
okay,
topics.
thank you.
Yes, I just want to make sure that all were covered for them. Thank you.
No problem. So we do offer some strategies to set your training up for success, and we have some tips for you to consider. So it's really important that the training room, you select a space that is not crowded and has movable tables and chairs. It's also really important to select a location that has parking and to avoid buildings where school is in session. And it's critical that you, as a site host, get the word out to your community so that as many people as possible attend the training and take advantage of this special opportunity. We only provide a limited number of trainings each year, and we want to ensure that we are building sustainable capacity when we are at your site. So to ensure participants are equipped to deliver trainings on their own after an event, we encourage participants to complete prerequisite work before a training event so that they will be prepared for the training, and also so that they may easily connect other TA center resources to the curriculum. And it's possible to host more than one training at a time across multiple days. Next slide. So who should you invite to some of the training? So as we mentioned, one of the most important considerations for making your training by request successful is who you get in the room. We encourage you to consider inviting all of the types of entities that you see on the screen. At the school and school district levels, it's important for key decision makers like principals, superintendents to be invited to attend. Additionally, those administrators, faculty, and staff that have a role in school safety, security, and emergency management. And this also includes cafeteria staff, food service directors, custodians, and bus drivers. Facilities maintenance, transportation, operations directors, school nurse, school social workers, school psychologists, mental behavioral health counselors, human resources directors, legal counsel, educators, academic counselors, secretaries, school resource officers, as well as emergency managers and other security and safety staff. But it says equally invited to invite those key community partners that your education agency works with or can begin with to enhance your overall preparedness. And this range includes the local emergency management agency and municipality, the fire department, emergency medical service staff, public health agency, mental behavioral health agency, law enforcement agency, as well as youth serving organizations. So it's beneficial to collaborate at this in-person training with other education agencies such as neighboring school districts, non-public schools, charter schools, regional education agency, and even your state education agency or school safety center. So essentially, if there is someone that you would need to contact during an emergency, then they should definitely be invited to your training. Next slide. So in October of 2018, we conducted 3 consecutive days of training through our Training by Request program. We worked with the Puerto Rico Department of Education to host the training for all education agencies across the state, which resulted in training close to 300 people. On day 1, we delivered the Developing EOPs K-12 101 Train the Trainer to potential master trainers. This included representatives from state agencies such as the Puerto Rico Department of Education and Puerto Rico Emergency Management Agency, local FEMA hires responsible for recovery efforts from Hurricane Maria, and other organizations that work with schools across the state. This cadre of 50 trainers was then invited to attend the subsequent days to review the content and listen to the Train the Educator presentation. On days 2 and 3, we offered training to school directors who traveled from across the island to attend. And that morning, they participated in developing EOPs K-12 101. train the trainer, and in the afternoon, they participated in the conducting K through 12 site assessment extension. So each day we had over 100 school directors attended. The master trainers from day one were then invited to participate in an in-depth review of the curriculum, and one of our expert trainers also assisted with that, and it was successful because the master trainers taught an entire module on day 3 to school directors with assistance from our master trainers. And all of our training materials and presentations were actually delivered in Spanish for the first time during this 3-day training event.
We do have a question in chat asking, are these trainings similar to or are the same trainings that are implemented by the County Office of Ed?
I can go ahead and answer that. We offered trainings to education agencies for free through this program. And so sometimes they're hosted on behalf of the state education agency. They can be hosted by county education agencies. They can be hosted by regional education agencies, local education agencies. So a variety of education agencies. There may have been a training that was delivered in your area through your county office of education or some other entity. And so it's possible, I'm not quite sure which training exactly is being referenced, but the REMS TA Center does travel across the country and goes to a variety of places and delivers these trainings all for free.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next slide. So we also offer specialized training packages that can support you in your in-person training efforts. So these modules contain training presentations with speaker notes, instructions, resource lists, and in some cases, tabletop exercises. You're able to download the package and use its material to deliver in-person training yourselves or online to your colleagues on a variety of school emergency management topics, or you may want to review the materials on your own to learn more about a particular topic. We just ask that you credit the REMS TA Center as the author of these training materials. Next slide, please. So some of the training topics are shown on your screen. I'll just name a few. So we have a developing a communications and warning annex training, specialized training package. We also have an infectious disease planning, as well as understanding educator resilience and developing a self-care plan, and an overview of the features and functions of EOP Assist 2.0 for state agency hosts and their stakeholders. Next slide, please. We also offer a couple of supplemental packages. One is our emergency exercises packages, and this is one of our coolest resources per se. It contains an introduction to emergency exercises, tabletop exercise instructions, tabletop exercise scenarios, injects, and podcasts, and accompanying resources. So in this package, we focus on 2 different scenarios. So you have power outages and an infectious disease outbreak. So you can use this package to lead a tabletop exercise at your school or school district. This will help you identify gaps and weaknesses and strengthen your plan. Whether you've participated in many tabletops or none, this package will assist you along the way. Next slide. We encourage you to use our training packages in your training efforts. For example, you can integrate one training into your professional development meetings or days and use the time that is already set aside to build the school community's preparedness capacity. Or if you're planning a conference, you can set aside an hour or 2 for a special session on one of the topics we mentioned, and you already have the materials to deliver it. You can also send out the package to your colleagues or staff and mandate or ask them to complete and review the training on their own time. Furthermore, if you want to host a webinar on one of the topics we cover, you won't need to recreate the wheel. Just integrate our materials into your presentation. Next slide, please. So in addition to our in-person trainings, we also offer online webinar opportunities. And these would be webinars with presentations from experts in the field. All of our webinars are archived and accessible on our website for viewing at a later date. Most webinars are about 1 hour and cover a variety of topics. Participants can download a copy of the presentation, supplemental resource list, and other online materials that enhance key learning objectives. Next slide. So we've been hosting a role-based webinar series since 2021. And these webinars highlights the critical role of various practitioners, both within and outside of school buildings, in supporting school safety efforts. We've highlighted school nurses, school psychologists, community engagement specialists, families and parents, information technology specialists, school facility managers, transportation directors, and our latest, athletic directors, just to name a few. So you're able to view these archive webinars on our website at any time. Next slide. So those webinars are intended to serve as a learning opportunity to expand your knowledge of certain school safety topics. While you can view them at home or work on your own, you are also encouraged to share them with others. For example, you can send the archive webinar link to your colleagues or post them on your website. This is particularly recommended if you work for a state education agency, regional education agency, or state school safety center that serves many education agencies. Please spread the word on these archive deep dives on emergency management topics. Additionally, you can play a webinar at a meeting or training that you are hosting. Next slide. We also offer online courses. So our online courses is another amazing learning opportunity. These are self-paced and users must sign up for an account in order to access. You can log in at any time and pick up where you left off or start a new course. Once a course is completed, you will get a certificate of completion, which you can print or save for your records. While taking these online courses, you are provided with resources such as checklists as well as reference guides. Next slide. Here are some of the online courses we offer. As you can see, we have family reunification, developing memoranda of understanding. We also have developing a food contamination annex, planning for infectious disease, and developing a continuity of operations annex. Next slide, please. So your education agency can provide incentives for staff to complete additional trainings, such as our online courses, and collect the certificates of completion that are generated as proof. These certificates can be used to maintain training records for your staff. Furthermore, you are encouraged to send our online courses to your colleagues to complete, as well as post them to your agency website. Again, spreading the word about these training resources is beneficial to all. And that concludes our overview of the REMS TA Center trainings. And next, Allison will discuss the REMS TA Center's tools.
Thank you, Shantae. So the REMS TA Center has created several downloadable and online tools, which are really just actionable resources that you can use to enhance your emergency operations plans and overall preparedness. We've created many EOP interactive tools. Some may be used online, while others are downloadable, such as a software application, a mobile application, and an interactive workbook. And then our toolbox is a virtual library of tools, many of which are downloadable And then there's a couple more tools we were going to go over to a virtual toolkit, which is downloaded and installed on your website, while the community of practice is a platform to communicate with others via our website. Next slide. First, I am going to talk about our EOP interactive tools, our largest suite of tools. And we created them to help you all out with your emergency management planning. They can be used by safety leaders and planning teams all on their own. Really, we wanted to create something for you all, regardless of your level of experience and expertise with emergency management. And they can be used to do a variety of different important tasks: to develop a school emergency operations plan, EOP, to revise an EOP, to just overall enhance your capacity, to examine buildings and grounds on your campus, and to engage in learning opportunities. And many of these apps within the EOP interactive tools generate custom downloadable reports, such as copies of your assessment results. Next slide. So our EOP assess and EOP evaluate, and it's easy to get them confused. They're two of our web applications, which means that you can access them directly on our website, only using an internet connection. EOP Assess helps you assess your understanding of elements critical to the process of creating and maintaining a high quality EOP. It generates a customized and downloadable report with information and resources on fundamental concepts in emergency management planning. And then EOP Evaluate helps your planning team evaluate your existing school EOP against federal guidelines. And it also generates a customized and downloadable report with information and resources that your planning team can use to enhance areas of your school EOP. And both of these tools only require an internet connection on your computer and a PDF viewer. Next slide. Our newest tool is SiteAssess. It's a free mobile application that you can download from the Google Play or Apple App Stores. And you can use this app to conduct a site assessment of your education agency and examine the safety, security, accessibility, and emergency preparedness of your buildings and grounds. It contains over 1,300 questions and allows you to collect responses and take photos that are then saved directly within the application as you move around your campus. You only need a mobile device that's such as a tablet or a smartphone that is compatible. It needs to have an iOS or Android operating system, but then all data collected within SiteAssess is stored on your local device. So the REMS TA Center and the US Department of Education cannot see any of your data besides the basic contact information that you provide when you first install the app and register for its free use. So I want to spend a little bit more time going over this tool since it is so powerful. Next slide. Just to kind of recap, SiteAssess is free. It is really comprehensive for the K-12 audience. It aligns with federal guidance on best practices in school preparedness. SiteAssess was also designed to teach its users about site assessments along the way. So you really do not need to be experts on or have a strong grasp of what a site assessment is and how to conduct it. And similarly, it integrates crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED, and universal design. So you learn about those important concepts along the way as well. It also is completely customizable. So you can incorporate any requirements that you have for your school. And it's a secure mobile application, meaning that all the data is stored locally on that device. We first developed this app in 2017 and have since updated it several times. But we're really proud. It's the REMS TA Center's first ever mobile application, and it has over 8,000 downloads to date. Next slide. So when you first open up your application, you'll see a screen similar to this. This is the introduction section, and it's where you can find information on important concepts that will help ground you in your work, like site assessment, sub-TED, and universal design. It's also a place where you can find resources. And you can review this section before you get started conducting the site assessment, but you're also welcome to refer back to it at any time during and after the assessment. And if you click the logo, you'll be taken directly to our site. Next slide. This assess section is where you and your team will conduct the site assessment. And you can start a new assessment here and use the questions that come preloaded, or you can customize the assessment file. The way we've organized the assessment is into 4 topical areas. One is facility characteristics and the surrounding area. The second section is facility exterior. The third is facility interior. And the fourth is security policies, procedures, and systems. And then you see in the second screenshot, there's more subtopics within each section. And, planning teams can address all of these sections and subtopics. They're welcome to skip them. They can delete them. Again, totally customizable. No section within this tool is mandatory. And you're also welcome to add your own topics and subtopics into the assessment. Site Assess can hold multiple assessment files, which allows you to collect data over time and save site assessment data regardless of your progress. Next slide. Like I mentioned, there's over 1,300 questions in this tool, making it really one of the most comprehensive site assessments available. And along with this, we understand that not all questions are relevant to all schools. And so site assessment teams, you really only need to address the areas that are applicable to them. You can see on your screen, besides deleting sections and questions, you can respond to a question and just say not applicable as an option. You're also can add customized like comments and upload photos for every single question. And I think this is really an important feature because it helps you document conditions and the conditions of your buildings and grounds, especially before an emergency. And then at the bottom of the third screenshot, you can see that there's an ability to note whether you would like to improve that question or deal with that later on in the future. And I'll discuss that a little bit more on the next slide on what that means. Next slide. So the improve section is where you can create a facility improvement plan. There are maybe areas within your campus that you have flagged during the assessment, and those will appear here on this page. You can then prioritize all of those areas and add details for each enhancement, like the person that will be responsible for leading that enhancement, or the date the improvement will be completed, or the strategy for the enhancement. And the data that you enter here is also completely customizable. It allows you to create your own improvement plan according to your own priorities and your own needs. Next slide. So as I mentioned, in the intro section, there's an area that contains resources. And this is particularly going to be helpful after you conduct an assessment and as you create an improvement plan. We've selected resources that cover topics that you see on the screen and more. These range from specific threats and hazards to general safety considerations and areas for the whole school community, for all settings and for all times, such as mitigation planning, hazardous materials leaks, safe routes to school, evacuation, continuity of operations, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, high winds. We've customized and curated a list for you all. And these resources are also downloadable, available in a downloadable resource list that you can access through the app or via the website. Next slide. So the tools section is one of the most important and utilized sections. After you've conducted a site assessment and contributed your part to the site assessment, you then will need to share the data with your team. And here in this section, you can export your file, even customizing which sections you export, depending on who you're sharing with. You can also utilize a checklist in this section that we've created to ensure that you completed all the steps that you've needed and shared your site assessment with first responders. And that can include law enforcement officers, fire officials, and emergency medical services personnel in your community. And the purpose of sharing this information with first responders is to aid them in moving rapidly in your school during an emergency so that they can ensure all areas are safe and that all people in need are tended to. The tools section is also where you can import files from your colleagues. And we're currently working on a brand new feature that'll allow people to merge files, which will be available this summer, and will give team members the ability to merge their assessments or their respective portions of assessments together into a single file. Next slide. I want to talk about the file types that can be exported from SiteAssess. There are 3. They all serve very different purposes. They're all very valuable. And in fact, if you're done with your team's site assessment, we recommend you export all 3. So the Word document format contains images and responses that you collected in your site assessment and is formatted with graphic design elements. Teams can use this format for reporting and submitting to leadership, submitting to an insurance company or other community partners. The document's also accessible and editable on computers, but it can be quite lengthy and large. The second file format is Excel worksheet, and that contains responses collected in the assessment, but also allows easy combination and comparison of data across buildings and across time. And teams can use the Excel version for data analysis and program management. The spreadsheet is also something that can be accessed and edited on a computer. However, it just does not contain any images or graphic design elements. And then the third file type is one of the most important, but it's also a little bit confusing in the fact that it's only readable in SiteAssess. It'll contain a .REMS TA center file type and in the file name. And the purpose of the mobile app file is to allow team members to contribute to the same site assessment through the import and what will become the merge feature. And this file may also be used to disseminate a customized template to teams. There are a variety of third-party applications that can be used to transmit the data: email, cloud storage, messaging, etc. It really depends on the format and the size. If you are unsuccessful with any transmit, we just recommend trying a different third-party application. But usually email application works the best, especially for mobile application files and Excel files. It's just that the Word document file can get very large with the photo, depending on the photos that you take. And so in that case, you may need to transmit it via a cloud storage application. All that being said, if you have any more questions or need any technical support with SiteAssess or other tools, please don't hesitate to contact the REMS TA Center. Next slide. Then and one of the last EOP interactive tools I want to talk about is our plan generator software app, EOP Assist. It is free and aligns with best practices as well. EOP Assist will take you through the 6-step planning process. It will collect your information along the way. And then at the end of the process, you'll have a customized emergency operations plan that aligns with the school guide, is formatted for you, and can be exported as a Word document. All the data that's collected within EOP Assist is stored on your server, and the REMS TA Center nor the U.S. Department of Education will be able to see your information. So to get started with this application, you register on our website, and then you'll receive a confirmation email from us that contains instructions. Then your IT personnel will begin installing the app on your server, which does require some networking and configuration expertise. Again, installation is on your server, not on a computer. And then it also needs to be set up on your website through a dedicated web address that you create. And users will need to have their own login credentials to access the tool, but we really try to expedite and help you all out with installation and use through free technical support. And there are a lot of resources on this tool on our website. Next slide. So to support education agencies with the resources, to support education agencies that don't have as much of the resources as others, we created the EOP Interactive Workbook, which is basically a low-tech version of EOP Assist. It's an offline tool. It doesn't require installation. There's not a big IT burden. And it's composed of instructions and worksheets, but then directs planning teams through the same process and the same information that's found within the software application. And at the end, you'll have a customized EOP that's generated in a Word document. The only requirements for this tool are a PDF viewer and Microsoft Word installed, and internet's only required for initial download. If you want to customize the instructions with any requirements that you may have, just reach out to us and we can send you a Word version of the instructions, which we created exactly for that purpose. And this tool is available in both English and Spanish. Next slide. So we encourage you all to consider strategically how you could use any of these EOP interactive tools. EOP Assess, for example, is really great to implement step 1, form a collaborative planning team. All your planning team members can go through the assessment and make sure you're using the same terminology and are on the same page. If you already have a plan, EOP Evaluate is a great place to start. It'll inform your plan revision process and help you identify gaps that you can address and your overall improvement plan based on best practices. And then Site Assess is an incredibly powerful tool to help you document your conditions and of your buildings and grounds before a disaster occurs. The photos captured in the app are particularly helpful for that purpose, especially for providing proof with insurance claims or requesting disaster recovery funding. Any of these tools that I talked about can be used, to show that you're actively trying to address and improve your school safety. And over time, you may potentially even be able to document improvement. Next slide. So we've received a lot of feedback about Site Assess. For example, it's very easy to use. It contains a lot of great information. It empowers schools to identify areas of improvement on their buildings and campuses. In one case, an education agency conducted a site assessment using the tool, and then they exported the results of the assessment in the customized Word document output, which contains those photos I mentioned, and then they submitted it to leadership, and that resulted in the approval of the site assessment team's request for $20,000 worth of funding to improve their buildings and grounds. So that's just one example of how the tool has been used. Next slide. Our toolbox is a virtual library of tools developed by school and higher ed practitioners in the field. Has sample drills, tabletops, exercises, job descriptions, MOUs, org charts, checklists, templates, so many items within the toolbox. They're there for you to download, to use, to customize, to assist you in your preparedness efforts, like hosting a tabletop exercise or revising your plan or planning training programs. And we're always looking to grow our toolbox. So we invite any of you to share resources that you've created and would like to share with peers today through our toolbox. Next slide. So our emergency management virtual toolkit is a tool for populating your own website with school safety content. It contains the latest federal school emergency management information, and it's divided into 3 sections: developing high quality EOPs, engaging youth in the school community, and connecting with other emergency management practitioners. And we've developed this toolkit so that education agencies can quickly and easily promote current and consistent information, to provide access to the latest resources and training opportunities, and to access the tools that they need. And so to get started with this tool, you register to download it from our website, and then you'll receive instructions for installation and a confirmation email. And we have an installed version on our site already for you to view and take a look at. Next slide. The last tool that I want to talk about is the community of practice. It's a virtual space on our site for you to collaborate with others on special projects, to share news, discuss trends, and just learn from the others' experience. You can start a topic and encourage your colleagues across the nation to join in. All you need is to create an account, and then you log in and post. We have public forums available to you all, but we also have private community huddles. These are private spaces for you to collaborate with a specific group of people and share documents and information with each other. So if you would like for us to create a community huddle for you, please let us know, and we're happy to accommodate that request. Next slide. It's a really great space for planning teams, for groups of people to use for their own individual purposes. For example, in the past, we created a community huddle for charter school superintendents in one state to share information with their peers. We've also created a community of huddle for after Hurricane Harvey for another peer-to-peer mentoring group so that they could discuss and share lessons learned. In order really to maximize your membership, we encourage you to get in the habit of logging into the community of practice regularly and see how you can integrate it into your daily routine, because the more you engage, the more everyone really gets out of this tool. So that's all for the tools. Now I'll hand it back over to Shantae to walk through our resources.
Thank you so much, Allison. So we created several other resources to assist you in your school safety efforts. We have an entire section of our website dedicated to topic-specific resources, and that houses online and downloadable resources in various topics in school emergency management. We also write a variety of publications that can be read online or downloaded, and we have developed creative materials that you can use to spread the word about school safety. We have a state emergency management resources section on the website, and that contains state-specific information and mandates related to school safety. And we also maintain a help desk to fill your questions by phone and email. Next slide, please. So the topic-specific resources hub contains information from the REMS TA Center, the U.S. Department of Education, and federal agency partners on over 20 topics. And these resources have all been vetted by the REMS TA Center staff, so you can trust that they are relevant, and they are easily over 100 resources. And we encourage you to explore every page and share what you find with your colleagues. Next slide, please. So we also have publications, so that would include fact sheets, sample annexes, resource lists, guidance documents, and flyers. And we've conducted research on these topics within emergency planning, and they're all featured on our website. And with guidance documents that support our topic area, and I'll share a little more details about that. Next slide, please. So our fact sheets explore key topics and provide strategies, considerations, lessons learned, and information for planning teams to use in their work at their site. And some of the topics include bereavement memorials and anniversaries, developing a recovery annex for K-12 schools, using NOAA weather radio all hazards to enhance school and higher education emergency preparedness and response efforts, national disaster recovery framework, recovery planning through the lens of preparedness. And again, you will find these topics and many more on our website. Next slide, please. Last year, we developed and published the building blocks to school safety. And that's a toolkit for K-12 schools and school districts for developing high quality school emergency operations plan. And this toolkit offers a compendium of key resources for practitioners in school emergency management who are interested in gaining an understanding of the school guide and district guide. Next slide, please. So some of our sample annex topics, it includes guidance from the high quality EOPs on threat and hazard specifics, as well as functional annexes. So these are sections of the plan that specify the policies and procedures, as well as the responsibilities and actions that are taken before, during, and after an emergency event. While it is important that planning teams develop their own EOPs as they work through the 6-step planning process with community partners and ultimately decide how their annexes are structured based on their work together, the REMS TA Center created sample annexes that may be used in helping to understand what the structure and content of an annex may include. So each of the sample annexes is formatted slightly different, and it reflects very different fictional schools. The sample annexes that we have already created, you can find those on our website as well. We have sample family reunification annex, sample lockdown annex, sample shelter in place annex, a sample earthquake annex, as well as a sample evacuation annex. Next slide, please. So we also write and release tip sheets, resource lists, newsletters, and other special publications on topics such as those seen on your screen. Our building blocks to school safety toolkit was developed specifically for education agencies trying to introduce the topic of school safety and emergency management planning. So we encourage that you review, distribute this toolkit to your school so that they can get started with developing EOPs, particularly if it's a new topic for them. Next slide, please. So one of our other publications is the Teen Cert Toolkit. You all may already be familiar with Teen Cert, but to summarize it, it's a national program that trains teenage volunteers in disaster preparedness and emergency response. So it gives teenagers the opportunity to serve their community and help take care of their school and home. You can learn more about Teen Cert via our webinar on this topic. And the resources within this Teen Cert Toolkit, it was prepared by Ms. Susan Graves of Oregon Lincoln County School District for use in her district's Teen Cert program. And all of the resources are modifiable, customizable for any practitioner who wishes to use them for a new or existing Teen Cert program. Next slide. So I'm going to give you a little information on the district guide and school guide. So in 2013, the U.S. Department of Education worked with the U.S. Departments of Homeland Security, Justice, and Health and Human Services, as well as the Federal Emergency Management Agency and Federal Bureau of Investigation. So 6 agencies in total, and they developed a guide for developing high quality school emergency operations plan, which is considered as a school guide, and it's based on years of emergency management planning work by the federal government. And it's integrated into all of our work and has been transformed into an HTML version on our website. So in 2019, to further support the EOP development process for schools and districts, OSSS, with representatives from the U.S. Departments of Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, and Justice, created the role of districts in supporting schools in the development of high-quality emergency operations plans, which is a district guide, and that serves as a complement to the school guide and provides information that can assist school districts in fulfilling both their individual and shared emergency planning responsibilities and all hazard school EOP development. Core planning teams within school districts can use this guide to inform the development of local policies and procedures related to school EOP development. So you can also access both of these guides on our homepage under best practice. We also, next slide, please. We also offer an ASM training guide, and that's for administrators and educators on addressing adult sexual misconduct in the school. Next slide. We have a variety of creative materials on our website as well, which includes web badges and email signature banners for use by you. So you just need to, you can download the images, insert them into your email signature or onto your website and link them back to our website, remsed.gov. And it's a great tool to spread the word and build preparedness capacity of agencies you interact with and support. Next slide. We also have a page dedicated to offer, to share a variety of grants that support the education for school safety and emergency preparedness. So you'll find that detailed information on current and previous grant programs that are administered by OSS, as well as grants available through our federal partner agency website. Next slide. Our newest opportunity to engage with the REMS TA Center and our partners is the REMS on the Air podcast. Our podcast library contains a collection of episodes designed to support your school safety, security, emergency management, and preparedness initiatives. So we definitely encourage you to join in on the conversation by providing feedback and insight and help us ensure that the REMS on the Air podcast serves your needs. Next slide. Additionally, you'll find state emergency management resources on our website, and that will include emergency management resources, safety and security mandates, and agencies for each state. If you see any updates for your state, please send those to us. We are always happy to update and need your help since you are the expert in your own state. Next slide. And finally, I want to share our information on our help desk. So we maintain a toll-free phone line and email so that we can hear from you. The REMS TA Center staff are available via email or phone to respond to your direct requests for technical assistance on a variety of topics, from questions about registering for a webinar or scheduling a training event to topical inquiries about new issues in emergency management. So just remember, we are always here for you to help you in your school safety needs. And now I'd like to turn things back over to Allison to wrap it up.
Thank you, Shantae. That concludes our presentation, but we would like to hear from all of you. Next slide. using the chat feature, which REMS TA Center service or services are you looking forward to using the most? We went over quite a few today, and we're really curious, which stands out to you. And while you think on that and submit your answers about the most interesting or exciting REMS TA Center resources, we would like to open up a question and answer session as well. So if you have any other questions about the REMS TA Center, we encourage you to submit them via the Q&A chat feature on the screen. I'm seeing answers come in. The trainings are of interest as well as the downloadable resources. And that's another individual wrote, I am looking forward to the trainings available. As you saw, we have a lot of synchronous and asynchronous training opportunities. We hope you use them. That's what they're there for. Seeing a response about the specialized training package. Fantastic. It's a wonderful resource to be used to deliver your own trainings. I like to see the Teen Cert toolkit is another answer I see coming through. If you have any trouble finding anything on our site, just let us know, reach out to us. We're happy to direct you in the right direction. And I know it's quite shocking, but we didn't go over everything on our site. There's still more to be explored, so we encourage you to do that. Next slide. We're so glad that this was helpful to you. Any other questions that we can answer for you today while we're in this session? Sounds like you all are potentially mulling over the information we shared. We did go over a lot. If you have any, topics that come to mind or that come up in your work that we didn't talk about today, but pertain to emergency management planning and school safety, feel free to reach out to us. We may have more resources. We have, we're able to find a lot of resources, even if we don't create them ourselves. So with no more questions coming into the chat, next slide. I just want to thank you all for being here today. Please don't forget that the REMS TA Center is here. We would love to connect with you in any way that you'd like. Remember, we have a toll-free phone number. You can email us at info@remstacenter.org. You can join our mailing list. You can visit our website, and you can find us on Twitter as well. So thank you all for your time today. We appreciate it. And that concludes this session.